Hi everyone, my name is Milena and today I'm going to read two pieces. One is Mark Antony's speech from Julius Caesar and another one is a couple of pages written by Bill Bryson in his book Made in America. So hope you enjoy and well, thank you for your attention. Mark Antony's speech from Julius Caesar. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good often turn with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault. And grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honourable man, and are they all honourable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffins fill. Did this in Caesar was ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, and he did thrice refused. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honourable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin, there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. And now I would like to read some pages from Bill Bryson's book, which is called Made in America, an informal history of American English. And I have chosen chapter number 9, The Melting Pot, Immigration in America. So let's start. By the early 1830s, America's cotton trade with Britain had become so vast that up to 1,000 ships at a time, a significant portion of the Atlantic fleet, were engaged in carrying cotton to Liverpool. The problem was that most made the return journey largely empty. Seeking out a convenient cargo for the return trip, the ship owners hit on an unusual one: people. Never mind that their ships were never intended for passengers, that a crossing could take up to 3 months with the human freight crowded into fatted holds that were breeding grounds for diseases like trachoma and malignant typhus, whatever it means, I don't know, which in the 19th century was so closely associated with Atlantic crossings that it was called ship fever. People were willing to endure almost any hardship to get to America if the price was right, and by packing the passengers in and giving them almost nothing in the way of civilizing comforts, the fares could be made not just low but effectively irresistible. By mid-century, a one-way ticket in steerage could be had for as little as $12 from Liverpool to New York and for less than $10 from Dublin. All but the most miserably destitute could scrape together that, and millions did. From 150,000 in the 1820s, the number of immigrants to America climbed steadily with each successive decade. All this was happening in a much more thinly populated America, of course. Once across the ocean, the immigrants tended naturally to congregate in enclaves. Almost all the immigrants from Norway between 1815 and 1860 settled in just 4 states: Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois. In much the same way, 2/3 of the Dutch were to be found in Michigan, New York, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Sometimes they were given active encouragement to congregate. In the first half of the 19th century, several German societies were formed with the express intention of so concentrating immigration in a particular area that they could in effect take it over. One German spoke for many when he dreamed of Pennsylvania becoming an entirely German state, where the beautiful German language would be used in the legislative halls and the courts of justice. Not just in Pennsylvania, but in Texas, Missouri, and Wisconsin, there were earnest hopes of colonizing all or at least a significant part of those states. In factory towns, too, immigrants groups were often concentrated on to an extraordinary degree. Those who had neither the inclination to work in heavy industry nor the wherewithal to take up farming generally clustered in cities, even if, as was almost always the case, their backgrounds were agricultural. So effortlessly did Irish, Poles, and Italians settle into urban life that we easily forget that most came from rural stock and had perhaps never seen a 5-story building or a crowd of 1,000 people before leaving home. Often they arrived in such numbers as to overturn the prevailing demographics. In a single year, 1851, 250,000 Irish came to America, and almost all of them settled in New York or Boston. By 1855, 1/3 of New York's population was Irish-born. As immigration from Northern Europe eased in the third quarter of the century, the slack was taken up by Eastern European Jews. Between 1880 and 1900, an estimated 1/3 of the Jewish population of Europe came to America, and again settled almost exclusively in New York. By the turn of the century, New York had become easily the most cosmopolitan city the world had ever seen. 80% of its 5 million inhabitants were either foreign-born or the children of immigrants. It had more Italians than the combined population of Florence, Genoa, and Venice, more Irish than anywhere but Dublin, more Russians than Kiev. As Herman Melville put it, we're not so much a nation as a world. In 1908, a British Zionist named Israel Zangwill wrote a play about the immigration experience that gave Americans a term for the phenomena. He called it the melting pot. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.